The microphone feels heavy in my hand as I watch my brother Sullivan deliver his best man speech. My fingers trace the smooth metal, and I can already taste the chaos I'm about to unleash. In less than 20 minutes, I'll shatter this perfect wedding reception into 1,000 glittering pieces. My name is Piper, and I'm about to ruin my brother's wedding. To the happy couple, Sullivan raises his champagne glass, and 200 guests follow suit. The crystal chandeliers catch the light, creating dancing patterns across the ballroom's cream-colored walls. My mother Yara dabs at her eyes with an embroidered handkerchief, the perfect picture of maternal pride. "You okay?" Olive whispers, squeezing my arm under the table. "You look like you're about to throw up." "I'm fine," I lie, gripping the microphone tighter. The truth is, my stomach is doing backflips. 3 months ago, I wouldn't have dreamed of doing this. 3 months ago, I still believed I was really part of this family. "Ladies and gentlemen," the wedding coordinator announces, "we'll now hear from the bride's sister." My mother's head snaps toward me, her perfectly styled hair barely moving. "Piper, darling, I didn't know you prepared a speech." "Oh, I've been preparing this for weeks," I say, standing up. My black bridesmaid dress suddenly feels too tight, too restrictive. Like everything else in this family, it's just for show. As I walk to the center of the dance floor, I catch sight of my father, Francis, busy typing on his phone. Typical. He's probably closing another real estate deal, too important to pay attention to his daughter. Well, not really his daughter. "Hey everyone," I start, my voice shakier than I'd like. "For those who don't know me, I'm Piper, Sullivan's sister." The word sister tastes bitter on my tongue. From the corner of my eye, I spot Terrell, Sullivan's college friend, watching me intently. We've only talked a few times during wedding preparations, but something in his eyes tells me he sees right through me. Growing up in the Warner family was interesting. I pause, letting the word hang in the air. We always looked perfect on the outside. The successful father, the devoted mother, the achieving son, and the artistic daughter. Picture-perfect Christmas cards every year. My Aunt Presley shifts uncomfortably in her seat. She knows what's coming. She's the only one who ever hinted that things weren't what they seemed. "Piper," my mother's warning tone carries across the room. "Perhaps we should move on to the dancing." "No, Mom, I don't think we will." My voice grows stronger. "Because 3 months ago I found something interesting while looking for my birth certificate for my passport renewal." The room goes quiet, even the clinking of glasses stops. "I found adoption papers." My hands are shaking, but my voice isn't. Papers that showed that the perfect daughter in those perfect Christmas cards wasn't actually theirs. Sullivan stands up so fast his chair falls backward. "Piper, what are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth, Sully, something our parents never did." I turn to face them directly. 28 years of lies. 28 years of pretending. Did you think I'd never find out? My father finally looks up from his phone. His face has gone pale. My mother's mascara is running now, but not from happy tears anymore. "I thought maybe there was a good reason," I continue, my voice cracking. "So I asked them, multiple times, but they just kept dismissing me, changing the subject, telling me I was being dramatic." Olive stands up, ready to come to my side, but I shake my head slightly. I need to do this alone. So I decided that if they wouldn't give me the truth, I'd take it for myself. And what better place than here, where everyone can see the perfect family for what it really is. "That's enough," my father's voice booms across the room. But for the first time in my life, I'm not backing down. "No, it's not enough. It's never been enough." I turn to address the shocked guests. "The truth is, I'm adopted. And my parents were so obsessed with maintaining their perfect image that they never told me. They let me believe a lie my entire life." The microphone slips from my trembling fingers, hitting the floor with a loud feedback screech. The sound perfectly matches the chaos erupting around me. Sullivan is yelling, my mother is crying, and my father is storming toward me. But as I stand there in the middle of it all, I feel strangely light, free. The truth is finally out, and there's no taking it back. As guests start whispering and phones come out to capture the drama, I catch Tyrell's eye again. He's not looking at me with shock or judgment, but with something else. Understanding? Admiration? I can't quite tell. What I do know is that this is just the beginning. The perfect family facade has cracked, and through those cracks, I can finally see a way out. 3 months earlier, I sat cross-legged on my bedroom floor, surrounded by scattered papers from the old filing cabinet in Dad's study. My hands trembled as I held the document that would change everything. Olive, I need you to come over, right now. My voice cracked as I spoke into the phone. I'm in the middle of a date, Pipe, she said. Please, I found something. I can't. The tears started falling onto the papers. 20 minutes later, Olive burst through my apartment door, still wearing her date night dress. What's wrong? What happened? I thrust the papers at her, unable to speak. She sat beside me on the floor, her eyes scanning the documents. Holy shit, she whispered. Are these adoption papers from when I was 6 months old? I wiped my eyes with my sleeve. They never told me, Olive, not once in 28 years. Olive wrapped her arms around me. Maybe they were waiting for the right time? The right time? I pulled away. I'm 28. I've graduated college, started a career, dated seriously. When exactly was the right time? Have you talked to them about it? I shook my head. I found these 2 hours ago. I was just looking for my birth certificate for that stupid passport renewal. You need to confront them, Olive said, sorting through the papers. Look, there's more here. Medical records, court documents. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Family dinner tomorrow night. Sullivan and Jessica are announcing their engagement. Wear something nice. I laughed bitterly. Perfect timing. Another family celebration. Are you going to say something at dinner? I don't know. I stood up and paced the room. How do you even start that conversation? Pass the potatoes, and by the way, why did you lie about adopting me? The next evening, I sat at my parents' dining room table, pushing food around my plate while Sullivan and Jessica shared their engagement story. Mom was beaming. Dad was actually paying attention for once, and I felt like I was watching a play where everyone knew their lines except me. Piper, you're quiet tonight, Mom said, reaching for the wine bottle. Everything okay at work? I set down my fork. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. Of course, darling. Why did you never tell me I was adopted? The clatter of Sullivan's fork hitting his plate echoed through the sudden silence. Mom's hand froze mid-pour, red wine dripping onto the white tablecloth. What are you talking about? Dad's voice was sharp. I found the papers yesterday in your study. I pulled out the folded documents from my purse. Were you ever going to tell me? Mom's face went pale. Piper, this isn't the time. When is the time? I slammed my hand on the table. When I'm 30, 40, when I have kids of my own? You're being dramatic, Dad said, standing up. Jessica, Sullivan, I apologize for this disruption. Dramatic? I stood too, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You've lied to me my entire life. We protected you, Mom said, her voice trembling. We gave you everything. Except the truth. Sullivan cleared his throat. Maybe we should stay out of this, I snapped. Did you know? His silence was answer enough. Great. So everyone knew except me. I grabbed my purse. Thanks for dinner. Piper, wait, Mom called after me. Let's discuss this rationally. I turned at the door. Rationally? Like how you rationally decided to hide this from me for almost 3 decades? As I drove home, my phone kept buzzing with messages. I ignored them all except Olive's. How did it go? Exactly as expected. Denial, deflection, and you're being dramatic. Come over, I have wine and ice cream. At Olive's apartment, curled up on her couch, I finally let myself break down completely. There's something else, I said, wiping my eyes. I overheard Mom on the phone as I was leaving. She was talking to Aunt Presley, saying something about she can't know everything, and some secrets need to stay buried. Olive sat up straighter. What do you think that means? I don't know. I took another spoonful of ice cream. But I'm going to find out. And you know what? Sullivan's wedding would be the perfect time to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of family we really are. Piper, Olive's voice held a warning note. Don't try to talk me out of it. They've had 28 years to tell me the truth. Now they can have their truth served cold, just like this ice cream. As I said the words, I felt something harden inside me. The hurt was still there, but now it had an edge to it. A purpose. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Tyrell. Sullivan gave me your number. Want to grab coffee? Sounds like you could use someone to talk to." I stared at the message, wondering if maybe the universe was finally throwing me a lifeline. The bridal shower was exactly as insufferable as I'd expected. Mom had rented out the garden room at the country club, and everything was draped in blush pink and cream. I sat in the corner, nursing my third mimosa, watching Mom play perfect hostess. "Piper, darling," she called across the room. "Come help Jessica open her gifts." "I'm good here, thanks." I raised my glass in a mock toast. Aunt Presley slid into the chair next to me. "You look about as thrilled to be here as I am. At least you're not wearing this ridiculous bridesmaid dress." I tugged at the itchy fabric. "Did you know?" "About what?" But her eyes didn't quite meet mine. "About me. About the adoption." Presley's fingers tightened around her wine glass. "Piper, there are things—" "Ladies!" Mom's voice cut through our conversation. "We're about to play bridal bingo." I stood up abruptly. "I need some air." In the hallway, I pulled out my phone and texted Tyrell. "Save me, I'm dying of pink overload." His response came quickly. "Meeting wrapped early. Want to escape?" 20 minutes later, I was sliding into the passenger seat of his car, ignoring the flood of texts from Mom. "You're my hero," I said, kicking off my heels. "Rough day?" Tyrell pulled out of the parking lot. "Just the usual family fun, Mom pretending everything's fine, Jessica being the perfect bride-to-be, and me drinking mimosas to cope." He glanced at me. "Have you talked to Sullivan since I confronted them about the adoption?" "He's called twice, left messages about working things out as a family." I mimicked my brother's condescending tone. But he knew Tyrell. He knew all along. We ended up at a small coffee shop downtown, far from the country club's manufactured perfection. "So what's your plan?" Tyrell asked, stirring his coffee. "Besides drinking all the mimosas at the wedding." "I'm going to tell everyone the truth, during the reception." He set down his spoon. "Are you sure that's what you want?" "What else can I do? They won't talk to me about it. Mom changes the subject. Dad buries himself in work. And Sullivan—" I trailed off, remembering our last conversation. Maybe there's more to the story? That's what Aunt Presley started to say before Mom interrupted. I leaned forward. "Actually, I've been meaning to ask you something. You've known Sullivan since college. Did he ever mention—" Tyrell shook his head. "Never. But Piper, if you go through with this at the wedding, there's no going back." "I know. But I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of being the only one who doesn't know my own story." My phone buzzed again. "Mom, where are you? Jessica is about to open your gift." "I should go back," I sighed. "Can't have people talking about the absent bridesmaid." "Let them talk," Tyrell said, but he was already reaching for his keys. Back at the country club, I slipped into the garden room just as Jessica was opening my gift, a crystal vase I'd barely bothered to wrap. "Oh, it's lovely," Jessica exclaimed with practiced enthusiasm. "Piper, where were you?" Mom hissed as I passed her. "Getting coffee with Tyrell." Her eyes narrowed. "Sullivan's friend? I don't think that's appropriate, given the circumstances." "The circumstances being that I found out my whole life is a lie?" "Lower your voice," she snapped. "This is Jessica's day." "It's always someone else's day, isn't it, Mom? When does it get to be my day? When do I get the truth?" Before she could answer, Aunt Presley appeared between us. "Yara, they need you in the kitchen. Something about the cake." Mom hurried off, but Presley caught my arm before I could escape. "Meet me tomorrow," she whispered. "The diner on Oak Street, 9 a.m. There are things you should know." "What things?" But she was already walking away, leaving me with more questions than answers. My phone buzzed one last time. Tyrell. "For what it's worth, I think you're braver than any of them." I looked around the room at my family, Mom directing the catering staff, Jessica surrounded by expensive gifts, the other bridesmaids giggling over wedding details. Everything perfectly orchestrated, perfectly false. 2 months until the wedding. 2 months to uncover whatever secrets Aunt Presley was hiding. 2 months to prepare for the moment I'd tear down this carefully constructed facade. I caught my reflection in one of the room's many mirrors. For the first time in weeks, I didn't see confusion or hurt in my eyes. I saw determination. Tomorrow at the diner, I'd start getting answers. And this time, no one would interrupt. I arrived at the diner 20 minutes early, but Aunt Presley was already there, stirring sugar into her coffee with shaking hands. The morning light caught the silver in her hair, making her look older than I'd ever noticed before. "You came," she said as I slid into the booth. "You said there were things I should know." The waitress appeared with a coffee pot. I nodded, and she filled my cup. "Before I tell you anything," Presley said, "you need to understand that your parents thought they were protecting you." "From what?" She reached into her purse and pulled out a yellowed envelope. "From this." I opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter, dated 28 years ago. "Dear Yara and Francis," I read aloud. "I know this is an impossible situation, but please take care of my baby girl. She deserves better than what I can give her. All I ask is that you never tell her about me. She can't know about the darkness she came from. Love, Marie." My hands started shaking. "Marie, my birth mother?" Presley nodded. "Your parents weren't just random adoptive parents, Piper. She was my best friend." The bell above the diner door chimed. I looked up to see Terrell walking in, and my heart skipped. He spotted us and started to turn away, but I waved him over. "Is this a bad time?" he asked. "No," I said quickly. "Stay. Please." Presley waited until Terrell was seated beside me before continuing. "Marie was brilliant, but troubled. She struggled with addiction, with abusive relationships. When she found out she was pregnant with you, she knew she couldn't keep you safe. So she gave me to her best friend's brother?" I looked at Presley. "Dad is your brother." "Yes. Marie knew you'd be safe with them. They had money, stability, everything she couldn't provide. But why keep it a secret? Why not tell me when I was old enough to understand?" Presley's eyes filled with tears. "Because Marie made them promise, and because she's still alive, Piper. She's in a long-term care facility. She overdosed when you were 2 years old. The damage. She never fully recovered." The diner suddenly felt too small, too hot. Tyrell's hand found mine under the table. "Where?" My voice cracked. "Where is she?" "Sunset Grove Care Center, about an hour from here." Presley pulled out another piece of paper. "This is her room number, but Piper, she's not really there anymore, not mentally." I stood up so fast my coffee cup rattled. "I need some air." Outside, I leaned against the brick wall, breathing hard. Terrell followed me out. "You okay?" "My birth mother is alive. She's been alive this whole time, less than an hour away." I turned to face him. "Why didn't they tell me? Even if she made them promise, I had a right to know." "Maybe they thought they were sparing you pain." "By lying? By letting me believe I was their biological daughter?" I pushed off from the wall. "I'm going to see her." "Now?" "Right now. Are you coming?" He didn't hesitate. "Of course." Back inside, Presley was still sitting in the booth, clutching her coffee cup. "I'm going to see her," I announced. "Piper, wait." "No more waiting. No more secrets." I grabbed the paper with the room number. "You can either tell Mom and Dad, or I will, but I'm done being kept in the dark." In Terrell's car, I finally let myself cry. He drove in silence, one hand on the wheel, the other holding mine. My phone started ringing. Mom's face flashed on the screen. "Presley told them," I said, declining the call. "What are you going to do when you get there?" "I don't know, but I need to see her. I need to see where I came from." The phone rang again. This time it was Sullivan. "Little sister, what the hell are you doing?" "Don't call me that," I snapped. "You lost that right when I found out you've been lying to me my entire life." "Mom and Dad are freaking out. They're worried you'll do something stupid." "Like what? Tell the truth?" "Because that's exactly what I'm planning to do at your wedding." "Piper, please." I hung up and turned off my phone. They're all so worried about their perfect image, I said to Tyrell. Nobody's worried about what this is doing to me. I am, he said quietly. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw nothing but sincerity in his eyes. The care center's sign appeared ahead of us. My heart started racing. Ready? Tyrell asked. No, I admitted, but I'm going in anyway. 28 years of lies were about to end. Whatever I found inside that building, at least it would be the truth. Sunset Grove Care Center smelled like disinfectant and sadness. A nurse led us down a pale green hallway, her shoes squeaking against the linoleum floor. Room 214, she said, stopping at a door decorated with faded paper flowers. Just don't expect too much interaction. Marie hasn't spoken in years. My hand trembled on the doorknob. Tyrell squeezed my shoulder. Want me to wait out here? I shook my head. Stay, please. The room was small but bright, with sunlight streaming through a large window. And there, in a wheelchair by the window, sat my birth mother. Her gray-streaked hair hung loose around her shoulders, and her vacant eyes stared at something only she could see. Marie? My voice came out as a whisper. I'm Piper. No response, not even a flicker of recognition. Your daughter. The nurse touched my arm gently. She's been like this since the overdose. The doctors say her brain was deprived of oxygen for too long. I moved closer, studying her face for any trace of myself. We had the same nose, I realized, the same high cheekbones. Can I reached for her hand. Of course, the nurse said. I'll give you some time. Marie's hand was warm but limp in mine. I sank into the chair beside her wheelchair while Tyrell leaned against the wall, a silent guardian. I found out about you, I said. About the adoption. They never told me, but I found the papers. Tears started falling. I wish you could tell me why. Why you made them promise to keep it secret. The door burst open. Mom stood there, breathless, with Dad right behind her. Piper, stop this right now, Dad commanded. I didn't let go of Marie's hand. Stop what? Finally meeting my real mother? We are your real parents, Mom said, stepping into the room. We raised you. We loved you. You lied to me. My voice rose, and Marie's hand twitched in mine. My entire life has been a lie, and I had to find out by accident. Keep your voice down, Dad hissed. This is a care facility. Oh, right. We wouldn't want to make a scene. That's what this is all about, isn't it? Keeping up appearances? Tyrell pushed off from the wall. Maybe we should take this outside. No, I said firmly. I'm staying with my mother. Piper, Mom's voice cracked. Please try to understand. We wanted to protect you. From what? From knowing that my birth mother loved me enough to give me up? From knowing that she's been here all this time, alive? From this, Dad gestured at Marie. From seeing her like this. From knowing that addiction destroyed her. That wasn't your choice to make. Marie's hand suddenly gripped mine, hard. Her eyes were still unfocused, but her fingers held on like she was drowning. She's responding to you, the nurse said from the doorway. That's unusual. Mom stepped forward, reaching for me, but I pulled away. Don't. I turned back to Marie. I'm getting married in 2 weeks, I told her. Well, not me, my brother, the son they actually gave birth to. I'm supposed to stand there and pretend we're one big happy family. Piper, enough, Dad warned. No, it's not enough. It will never be enough until everyone knows the truth. I stood up, carefully releasing Marie's hand. And they will know. At the wedding, everyone will know exactly what kind of family we really are. You wouldn't dare, Mom whispered. Watch me. I turned to leave, but Tyrell caught my arm. Piper, look. Marie was moving her lips, no sound coming out, but her eyes were fixed on me for the first time. What is she saying? I asked the nurse. She moved closer, watching Marie's lips. I think she's saying, sorry. The word hit me like a physical blow. All these years, all these lies, and the only person who apologized was the one who couldn't even speak. I'll be back, I promised Marie, with or without their permission. In the hallway, Mom tried one last time. Please don't do this to Sullivan, to us. Do what? Tell the truth? Someone has to. I walked away, Terrell beside me, leaving my parents standing in that sterile hallway with their perfect family facade crumbling around them. In the car, I finally turned my phone back on. Dozens of messages from Sullivan, from Jessica, from family friends. The latest was from Olive. Your mom just called me crying. What happened? The truth happened, I texted back, and in 2 weeks everyone else will know it too. Terrell started the car. Where to? I looked back at the care center, at the window I knew was Marie's. Somewhere I can practice my wedding speech. The time for secrets was over. The truth was all I had left, and I was going to wield it like a weapon. The wedding reception was in full swing when I finally stood up, champagne glass in one hand, microphone in the other. The events of my revelation from earlier still hung heavy in the air, but I wasn't done, not by a long shot. I'd like to make another toast, I announced. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to me. Mom half rose from her seat, but Dad pulled her back down. Piper, please, Sullivan begged from the head table. Haven't you done enough? Actually, no. I moved to the center of the dance floor. You see, after I discovered I was adopted, I did some digging, and what I found was so much worse than just a hidden adoption. Olive stood up. Piper, maybe we should... My birth mother is alive, I continued, my voice growing stronger. She's in a care facility less than an hour from here. She's been there for 26 years, ever since an overdose left her brain damaged. And everyone knew. Everyone except me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out recording the drama unfolding. But here's the best part. I turned to face my parents directly. She was Aunt Presley's best friend. This wasn't some random adoption. You knew her. You knew exactly who she was, and you kept her existence from me my entire life. That's enough, Dad's voice boomed across the room. No, it's not, because guess what I found yesterday when I went to see her? I pulled a folded paper from my dress. The nurses gave me access to her personal effects, and I found this. Mom's face went white. Piper, don't... It's a letter, written right before her overdose. My hands shook as I unfolded it. Dear Yara and Francis, I know you think keeping Piper from me is the right thing to do, but she's my daughter. She deserves to know her mother, even with all my flaws. Please don't cut me out of her life completely. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Even the wedding photographers had stopped clicking their cameras. She wrote this 2 days before she overdosed, I said, my voice cracking. 2 days before the incident that left her unable to speak, to think clearly, to tell me herself who she was. And you knew. You all knew. Jessica was crying now, clutching Sullivan's arm. He just stared at me, shock written across his face. So here's to family secrets, I raised my glass. Here's to lies told in the name of protection. Here's to the perfect family image that meant more than the truth. I tried to stop her. Aunt Presley's voice cut through the tension. She stood up, tears streaming down her face. Marie was my best friend, and I tried to convince them to tell you, but they were so afraid. Afraid of what? I demanded. Afraid I'd find out my birth mother was an addict? Afraid it would ruin your country club reputation? We were afraid you'd end up like her, Mom shouted, finally breaking. We were afraid you'd go looking for her, try to help her, and get pulled into that world. That wasn't your choice to make. Terrell appeared at my side, gently taking the microphone. Maybe we should take a break. No. I pulled away from him. Everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to know that the perfect Warner family is built on lies, that they let a woman waste away in a care facility, alone, while keeping her daughter in the dark. You want the truth? Dad stood up, his face red with anger. The truth is we gave you everything. A good home, education, opportunities. Everything Marie couldn't provide. Except honesty. I threw my champagne glass. It shattered against the wall, sending guests scrambling. Except the basic dignity of knowing who I really am. Piper, Terrell's voice was soft but firm, you've made your point. I looked around the room. Some guests were filming on their phones, others were whispering behind their hands. Sullivan had his head in his hands while Jessica sobbed quietly beside him. "You're right," I said, suddenly feeling drained. "I have made my point, and now everyone knows exactly what kind of family we are." I turned to leave, but Mom's voice stopped me. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." I turned back one last time. "Don't worry, Mom. I wouldn't want to tarnish your perfect family image any more than I already have." Terrell followed me out into the night air. Behind us, I could hear the chaos erupting in the reception hall. "Feel better?" he asked. "No," I admitted. "But at least now everyone knows the truth." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I was at the wedding. I knew Marie. There's more to the story than what you know. Meet me tomorrow?" I showed Tyrell the message. "Are you going to go?" I looked back at the reception hall, at the family I thought I knew, at the lies finally exposed to the light. "Yes," I said. "I need to know everything." The morning after the wedding, I sat in a quiet corner of a local cafe, waiting for the mysterious texter. Tyrell insisted on coming with me, sitting at a nearby table pretending to work on his laptop. A woman in her 50s approached my table. "Piper?" "Yes?" "I'm Rachel. I was Marie's nurse, before the overdose." My heart skipped. "Please, sit." Rachel settled across from me, placing an old photo album on the table. "I saw your speech last night. I was catering the wedding. You knew my birth mother?" "I was there the night she overdosed." Rachel's fingers traced the album's worn cover. "But there's something you need to know. It wasn't an accident." The cafe suddenly felt too quiet, too still. "What do you mean?" "Marie was doing better. She'd been clean for months. She was fighting for you, trying to prove she could be in your life." Rachel opened the album. "Look." The first photo showed a younger version of the woman I'd seen in the care facility. Marie was smiling, holding a baby, holding me. "Your parents had temporary custody while Marie went through rehab. She was making progress following all the court requirements." Rachel turned the page. "Then one night, she called me in a panic, said she'd found something that your parents were planning to take you away permanently." Terrell had abandoned his pretense of working and moved closer. The next day, they found her unconscious in her apartment. Everyone assumed she'd relapsed, but Rachel pulled out an envelope. "She left this with me the night before, made me promise to keep it safe." My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter and what looked like legal documents. "Dear Rachel," I read aloud. "If anything happens to me, keep these safe. Francis and Yara are trying to declare me an unfit mother. They've falsified documents about my recovery. They're going to take my baby forever. I have proof, but they know I know. I'm scared. If something happens to me, make sure Piper learns the truth someday." "That's impossible," I whispered. "They wouldn't." The next morning, she was found with enough heroin in her system to kill 3 people. Marie never used heroin. She was afraid of needles. Tyrell's hand found mine under the table. "Are you saying—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "I'm saying your parents wanted you badly enough to do whatever it took." Rachel's voice was gentle. "The police investigated briefly, but Francis had connections. The case was closed as an accidental overdose. Does Aunt Presley know?" "She suspected, I think, but she could never prove anything." My phone buzzed. Sullivan. "Mom's in the hospital. Anxiety attack after your stunt last night. Hope you're happy." I ignored it, focusing on the documents Rachel had brought. Court papers, medical records, letters between my parents' lawyer and the adoption agency. "They orchestrated the whole thing," I said numbly. "They made sure she'd never be able to claim me." "Marie loved you, Piper. She fought for you until she couldn't fight anymore." Terrell spoke up. "Have you shown these documents to anyone else?" Rachel shook her head. "I was afraid. Francis is a powerful man. Not powerful enough to hide from this." I gathered the documents. "Not anymore." My phone buzzed again. "Aunt Presley. We need to talk. There's something you should know about the night Marie overdosed." "I have to go," I told Rachel. "But thank you for keeping these safe, for telling me the truth." Outside, Tyrell grabbed my arm. What are you going to do? First, I'm going to meet Presley. Then I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people my parents really are. Piper, think about this. If what Rachel said is true, your parents might have been involved in my birth mother's attempted murder? Yeah, I got that. I pulled out my phone and dialed Olive's number. Hey, remember that investigative reporter you dated last year? Is he still interested in family scandal stories? Piper, slow down. What's happening? The truth, Olive. The whole truth is finally coming out. Another text from Sullivan. Mom's asking for you. Please come to the hospital. I showed Tyrell the message. Are you going to go? Yes, I said, hailing a cab. But not to make peace. I'm going to look them in the eyes and ask them if they really tried to kill my birth mother. Tyrell climbed in beside me. I'm coming with you. As the cab pulled away, I looked at the photo of Marie holding me as a baby. Her smile was bright, hopeful. She had no idea what was coming. I'm going to make this right, I whispered to the photo. I promise. My phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. Be careful who you trust. Some secrets are buried deep for a reason. The hospital loomed ahead, and with it, the final confrontation I never expected. It was time to learn just how far my parents had gone to create their perfect family. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beep of monitors. Mom lay in bed, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Dad sat beside her, and Aunt Presley stood by the window. Before anyone says anything, I announced, holding up the documents, I know what really happened to Marie. Dad's face went pale. Whatever you think you know. I know you falsified documents. I know you made sure she'd never get custody, and I know about the heroin. Mom started crying. We did it for you. No, my voice was steel. You did it for yourselves. You wanted the perfect family, and Marie was in your way. You don't understand, Dad stood up. She was unstable, dangerous. She was getting better. I slammed the documents down. She was fighting for me, and you couldn't stand it. Tell her, Presley said suddenly. Tell her the truth, Francis, or I will. Dad sank back into his chair. We didn't mean for her to die. What did you do? My heart was pounding. We paid someone, Mom whispered, to plant the drugs, to make it look like a relapse. We just wanted her to fail the custody hearing. But something went wrong, Presley continued. The person we hired, he used too much. By the time they found her, we never meant, Dad's voice cracked. We just wanted you to be ours. The truth hit me like a physical blow. Tyrell steadied me as I swayed. You tried to kill my mother. No! Mom reached for me. We just wanted to discredit her. We didn't know. I've already called the police, I said quietly. They're on their way, and I've sent copies of everything to every major news outlet in the state. Dad lunged for his phone, but Tyrell blocked him. It's done, I continued. Your perfect family image is over, and Marie finally gets justice. You'll destroy this family, Mom sobbed. You destroyed it 28 years ago when you decided your reputation was worth more than a woman's life. The door opened. 2 police officers entered, followed by a detective. Francis and Yara? The detective asked. We need to ask you some questions about the night of March 15th, 28 years ago. As they led my parents away, Presley touched my arm. I should have spoken up sooner. I was a coward. Yes, you were. I pulled away from her. But at least you finally told the truth. Outside the hospital, reporters were already gathering. The story was breaking. Prominent family's dark secret, attempted murder and cover-up. What now? Tyrell asked. Now I go see Marie. She deserves to know her truth is finally being heard. At Sunset Grove, Marie was sitting by the window as always. But this time, when I took her hand, her eyes met mine. It's over, I told her. They can't hurt you anymore. They can't hurt us anymore. Her fingers tightened around mine, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman from the photos, strong, determined, fighting for her daughter. I'm going to visit you every week, I promised. We have 28 years to make up for. My phone buzzed. Olive. Just saw the news. You okay? No, I texted back. But I will be. Sullivan called next. The police are questioning Jessica's family about canceling the wedding. This is a nightmare. The nightmare was living a lie our entire lives, I replied and hung up. Terrell wrapped his arms around me as we left the care facility. You did it. You found your truth. Our truth, I corrected, looking back at Marie's window. Hers and mine. The evening news was already running the story. My parents' mugshots, Marie's old photos, the documents proving their conspiracy. The perfect family facade had finally shattered completely. But as I watched the sun set over the care facility, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. The truth had cost me the family I thought I had, but it had given me something more valuable, the family I was meant to have all along. Want to get coffee? Tyrell asked. Actually, I smiled, taking his hand. I want to tell my mother about my day. We walked back into the care facility, leaving behind the cameras, the reporters, and the wreckage of carefully constructed lies. Ahead of me was something better than perfection, reality with all its messy, beautiful truth. Marie was waiting, and this time, when I started talking, I swore I saw her smile.